Hi, with me today is Silver James. She's written a book called Fairy Fate, and it will be out very soon. So we're really thrilled that she's here before the book is even available. When does it come out? Do you have the date exactly?
April 9th, 2010. It will be available online with booksellers like Amazon and Barnes & Noble, or from my publisher either in print or ebook.
Very good. We do have lots of people at the library who have the e-readers, so that'll be exciting. Can you give me a little synopsis without giving everything away?
It's based on Celtic mythology and the Celtic idea of reincarnation. And in my book, the fairies have decided to muck about in the lives of a couple. They didn't manage to hook up the first time around. And so in this current life, a 50-year-old is sent back in time into the body of her 20-something former self in the 9th century.
There's hope for me.
Yes, there's hope for all of us. So that they can fall in love, and all their corresponding lives, they'll meet each other and have their happy ever afters.
In the life to come.
In the life to come, yes. They have to say the binding words, and in this book they don't know the words, and there's a time limit. If she's not bound before the Festival of the Light, which is Lunas in Gaelic, she's sent to Tir Nan Og, the land of Everyoung, which is like the Celtic heaven.
Right.
And so it's lots of roadblocks, and
it sounds like it has lots of twists and turns. Do you move into the future, into the past? Do you move back and forth?
It starts in the future, goes back to the past, and remains in the past until the epilogue. And then they come back into the future, and you get to see how
it turns out.
How it turns out.
Oh, it sounds like a beautiful story. What
Well,
inspired you?
My imagination.
Good.
My dad put a book in my hand at the age of 3, and he taught me to dream and to believe in the world of the imagination. He was a huge Louis L'Amour fan and a science fiction fan. I grew up reading Andre Norton and Robert Heinlein. So it's always been a what if. And I've loved fairies forever and ever. I'm a romantic at heart, so.
I think that sounds so sweet. Was there a fantasy besides the science fiction? Was there a fantasy writer that you liked as well, or that you like currently?
Well, I didn't actually discover the trilogy of the Rings until I was in college.
Right.
And that's the penultimate fantasy, I think. The Dragon Riders of Pern series was another fantasy series that I discovered as an adult. So it was wonderful to see all these genres finally open up. And I think in romance, there's so much cross-genre writing going on that it's wonderful. You can have the romantic suspenses and the paranormal romances, and romance is wonderful. I love romance.
Well, and when I worked at a bookstore, it was just simply romance, and that was in the early 80s, you know. So it's really grown since then.
The category romances, and we all loved them, and we all grew up on them. So it's really nice to see all of our tastes covered in all the different genres and still get the happy ever after.
And how did you decide to go with the Celtic theme, background?
Good question. Okay. I really don't.
The answer is we don't know.
I don't. I've always had an interest in Celtic mythology and in Ireland, and specifically. So when I started doing research on another project, it just all kind of fell in together, and the plot occurred to me, and the characters jumped up and said, "Oh, I want to tell you my story. Listen to me." So that's my process. A character will walk into my imagination and say, "Hello, let's go have coffee and let me tell you my story." And then eventually it makes it to paper.
how lucky it is that you have these little characters that introduce themselves.
Well, maybe. My daughter's been known to tell her friends that it's okay, Mom's not crazy, she's just talking to the people in her head.
Well, I think it's nice of them to clue you in on what's been happening.
Yes, it is. It's, you know, I'm really not crazy. Those voices are actually people.
That's right,
Yeah.
and you might be channeling. We don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know which lifetime we're in. Well, I think that that's really fascinating. So it sounds like you do a lot of research.
I do. I come at it, I was a technical writer. I actually came out of the fire service and law enforcement as a background. I worked at the Murrah building and had several technical articles about the Murrah. And when I actually sat down and started, I've written all my life, but when I really tried to get published, I knew I wanted it to be in romance because there's so much ugly in the world. I wanted the happy side of things, and so it just seemed like a natural. And like I said, I love the fantasy aspects of romance and the paranoia and the what if, and what if there really were fairies and vampires and werewolves. So,
well, people create a lot of different things in their lives to help them get by. And,
they do.
And I think that this is a nice departure, you know, and you can enjoy it. And is it the kind of thing that a mom and daughter, older daughter, might even enjoy reading?
Well, actually, I've had a lot of men read the manuscript and go, wow. And the second book, and there are actually 3 books in this series. And the second one is just gone into publication. I don't have a date for it yet. It's called Fairy Fire. And the third one is Fairy Fool. And the past and present lives are all explored. So I try to write for anybody who wants to pick up a book and read, but there's always that romantic element, so they're listed as romances. But yeah, my first and biggest fan was my husband, so
it's good to have a proofreader.
And he doesn't read romance, allegedly.
Allegedly. How wonderful, though. I'm so glad that you came today.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad to be here.
Well, this is Silver James. We know that you'll look for this series. This first one is called Fairy's Fate. You can find it at your local bookstore or at your favorite library.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much.